to develop your quizzes for the future is to build these things called quiz banks first and then pull from the quiz banks for your class. So if you click on quizzes and you go up to these three dots up here, it goes to a place called Manage Quiz Question Banks. Add a question bank. So I might add a bank called 1920s. You have to hit enter here to get it to take. It's kind of tricky. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, I'm going to click on the question bank. There we go. And then I'm going to start to add questions. Okay. Got a feeling Canvas might be a little bit slow these next couple of days. Okay, it added 3 on me because I was not patient enough. So let me get rid of these 2. Here's a question I have. How are you? Good. Not good. Fine. Actually, fine is usually the right answer, right? Okay, there we go. Update question. So I've created one question in the question bank 1920s. Now I can add another question. How am I? Fine. Not good. Great. I've now created 2 questions in a question bank called 1920s. If I click on my question banks, I can click there, I click quizzes, go to the 3 dots, see my question banks. What I strongly recommend is developing these question banks according to your topics in your class or your weeks in your class. Then what happens is when you come back and you want to create a new quiz, let's say I go to the home page. Okay, no, let me go to quizzes, and I want to create a new quiz. Can I use quiz 1?
Sure.
I use this quiz 1. Now what I'm going to do, instead of going in and adding questions in this quiz, I'm going to link this quiz to the question bank that I just created. So you hit questions up here, new question group, and I will link to a question bank. So I'm going to go to my 1920s. Now if I had other question banks, you'd see them all listed there. 1920s, I select that bank, and I'm just going to pick, in this case, 1 question and 1 point per question for that bank. A lot of my banks have about 20 questions in them, and I'll pick like 12 of them at random. Okay. Group, I can call this, what, 1920s questions? And I have to hit this create group. If you miss this button, you lose it. Create group. Now it will pick 1 question, 1 points per question from the bank 1920s. Save and publish. When I go to this quiz now and I preview it, you will see it will automatically pull the question, how are you? Now I might, if I don't know if I can refresh it there. No, I can't. If I were to take this quiz the next time, maybe it would ask, how am I? No. But it will randomly pull one of those 2 questions. So then what's nice about that is you create additional quizzes in the future, say your midterm or your final, you could say, you know what, pull only from my 1920s bank, or pull 3 questions from 1920s, 3 from the 1930s, 3 from the 1940s, 3 from the 1950s. And if you have to go change a question, if you change it in the bank, it'll automatically change it in all of your quizzes. Otherwise, you end up with 6 different versions of your questions that you might have slightly adjusted. You know, your midterm, you want to do this. So if you really want to set your class up for the future with your quizzes, I would suggest doing these quiz banks.
All right, so check it out right now. If it doesn't work,